Howdy folks, break from the usual programming of cameras and tech to bring you to Jiro Sushi. Now if you're a food buff, especially a Japanese food or sushi buff, you'll have heard of this. We're not going to the original Jiro in Ginza, we're going to his son Takashi's restaurant in Roppongi. I've been trying to get a reservation here every time I come for years, haven't had a chance. This time got lucky, so I'm bringing along my co-host Tina to have what's reputed to be the first or second best sushi in the world. And what makes the best sushi? It's a hard question to ask. The dad's been making sushi for like 80 years, just refining the process little by little. And he's got 3 Michelin stars. I believe the son's newer restaurant already has 2 as well. Now, you know, there's so many legends about this place. They have the best fishmonger at the best fish market in the world, and they keep the best cut for this one restaurant, that they massage the squid for 50 minutes before they cook it, that they cook all the prawns to order, and that every single ingredient is temperature controlled and put together at different times. So say the shrimp should be a little bit warmer than hamachi, so it'll be taken out a little bit earlier to get up to room temperature, so when it hits your plate, it's ready to eat. This is 30,000 yen per person before you add anything, so that's over $300. I'm just hoping it doesn't spoil me and I can still appreciate other sushi in the future. Let's go have a look.
First thing that you notice as you walk in, it's very quaint. They actually have some fish in the little bowl there. Nice old styling, but a kind of a modern twist. The next thing that hits you is it's really, really small. The bar only seats about 8, and then there's 2 booths behind that. The allotted time for our lunch was 1 to 2 p.m. strictly, and we arrived 5 minutes early, so we were asked to wait back whilst they prepared things. It was kind of amazing to see the head chef, assistant chef, and 2 kitchen hands all working flat out for the entire hour. Didn't really take any breaks at all. They were serving us the entire time. And there was only 6 diners. There was only 6 of us at the bar and no one else anywhere else in the restaurant. Actually, a woman walked in and tried to try her luck and got sent away. They're really strict with how many people they take. So I was surprised it was actually only 20,000 yen with only 6 people at lunch. Surprised to see the wasabi. They're using a modern metal grater. The traditional one is actually made from shark skin. Time for some food. So obviously, first up they serve us ginger, and everyone at the bench ordered green tea, no sake today. Then we were there for the Nigiri set, so it was basically a set menu until the second last course, and then they brought out options for us. Let me take you through one by one what we had. First up, this one is Flounder, and you'll see there they brush them with soy sauce. It already has wasabi on and then the soy sauce as well. They don't recommend that you add anything to it, but they are okay if you wanted to. Now, it's kind of split. Traditionally, you would eat sushi like this, nigiri, with your hands, but you can also use chopsticks. Next up, this one is taco or squid. This was a really thick cut and really, really delicate and not chewy at all. It's probably a full centimeter thick and then cut to match the size of the rice, and it's just got this amazing sheen. Next up is a type of sardine. It's like gizzard shad. This is a really thin-skinned fish, slightly oily, really delicious. You see how particular they are with the fish there, taking off every little bit of sinew to make sure you don't get any chewy parts. Now, in my excitement, I think I missed filming some of the fish, so here's some other ones. That one's a giant scallop. It comes from the west side of the country. That's actually a cross-section of it. It's much bigger than your traditional scallop. There we are, that's maguro, the red tuna, the least fatty part. And then that's the chutoro. That's included in the course. That's the medium fatty. They were both sublimely good. Another whitefish, and then here we go. This is their fish eggs. Really, really outstanding. They marinate them, no fishy flavor, no salt water, sense to it at all. But I have to say, this was the one dish that the assistant made rather than the head chef. He kind of was chatting too much, dropped some of the eggs and then re-scooped them, and then when it got to me, it's an expensive lunch and this is meant to be one of the world's best. It wasn't properly folded, there was gaps in the eggs. It was surprising that you would get this at that restaurant. Time to eat that fish, and I have to say this is probably the first sushi bar I've been to where they do apply the soy sauce for you. So, you take it in the measure that they recommend, and it was really delicious. I have to say, even though, it's an expensive meal, you do leave full with that much rice and fish, you can't help it. Next up is one they referred to as giant clam. It's a type of shellfish. It kind of looks a little bit like arc shell. It was so fresh. They were chopping it to tenderize it, and it was still kind of moving around. But it didn't at all feel live in your mouth. I think it was just a muscle reflex. There you go, as they kind of tenderize it. Next up, one of the flagships, in my opinion, is the giant prawn. Now, this is one of the things they're famous for. They cook everything to order. The shrimp came out just slightly warmer than room temperature. They serve it in 2 pieces because it's so big, and recommend you eat the tail first because the head section has the most flavor. Honestly, this was probably the best prawn I've ever had. In Australia, we get great prawns, but the flavor of this was just something else. All of the seafood didn't taste salty at all. It just tasted of the fish or the shellfish that it was. Really, really delicious. Next up is uni, or sea urchin. Now, I know this isn't a lot of people's favorite, but to be honest, I think if you get amazing sea urchin, it's maybe the best food in the world. But even so sea urchin is kind of rubbish. Looking at that one, you can see it's such good quality. They're huge, and the texture is just outstanding. That said, it still wasn't, quite blowing my mind, but it was, the best sea urchin I've had at a sushi bar for sure, but I've had better at fine dining Japanese. Next up is Japanese Saba, or what we would call mackerel in Australia or America. It's quite an oily fish, and it was really, really delicious. As you would expect, the flow of the dishes is just masterful. The way the flavors follow on from each other works really well, and there's no question that the quality of fish in every dish is just world class. Next up, one of the kitchen hands brought out the anago ready to go, which then the assistant cut, but then the head chef actually plated. Anago is seawater eel. In the West, we often eat unagi, which is an oily one. That's a freshwater fish. The chef explained that traditional places only serve anago because back in the day you couldn't serve freshwater fish because it just didn't keep long enough, so it was only ocean fish that would be used in sushi. I have to say the anago was a highlight for me. It's hard to go wrong with anago. This was exceptional, and often you'll find tiny little bones in this kind of eel, but this one, it was just perfectly filleted, deliciously soft, and the sauce that comes with it is much milder than you find at other places, not overpowering the eel. I asked the chef, do they ever just get the sea urchin fresh from the shell instead of getting it in these wooden boxes like other restaurants? And Tina was taking lots of photos of it for a photo challenge, so they actually brought it over to show us up close. Now, I can tell you these are double or triple the size of a normal good sushi bar restaurant, and they're just incredibly firm. That box would be worth hundreds of dollars. As we got towards the end of the meal, they brought out what were the special items available for that day only at an extra price.
This is a steamed abalone, hard shell clam, small scallops, giant clam, king clam, octopus, flounder fin, most fatty too. If you like to eat any more, please try new fish or repeat your favorite fish you eat already. What some raw sushi? Raw, do you know those? Raw, I see. But these are extra. Please you decide.
Surprisingly, I think I was the only one at the bar who ordered the steamed abalone, and it was just amazing. Tina and I both got our favorites from the course. Again, we got the medium fatty tuna, and we both tried the fattiest tuna. I also tried the squid leg, which is famous for being marinated and then massaged for 50 minutes before it's actually cooked. All of it was just outstanding. Interestingly, the head chef told us to keep chewing the squid for, way longer than you normally would, and that you should start to taste crab and prawn in there because that's what the squids eat. Could kind of see it. It still tasted like delicious squid to me, essentially, though. You can see there on the close-up, they sprinkle it with salt, so it's ready to eat. Then it was time for another piece of the chutoro. This was, we both love this one. You can see from Tina's reaction just how good it was. It was really world-class tuna. Then I had a second portion of the sea urchin. Then it was time for them to prepare a slice of the steamed abalone for me. It was so good and tender. Nothing like abalone that you've tried before. Then came the otoro, which is the fattiest part of tuna. You may have heard of melt in your mouth. The reason why the good quality tuna really does is because tuna fat melts at a very low temperature. So if you just sit a piece of fatty tuna like that in your mouth, it will start to dissolve as the fat warms up to your mouth's temperature. Really good, but I still prefer the medium fatty chutoro personally. My last piece of anago, a little bit of food porn, just watch that sauce dribbling off. Really something special, just so delicious. And then after everything else, all the meals end with their famous sweet egg, the tamago. This is not like egg that I've had at any other sushi. They explain that they don't use any flour, it's just egg, sugar, salt, and then they use mountain yam to get the consistency. If you've seen the documentary, this is the one they made the poor guy make over 200 times before the quality was good enough. You'll note the man's piece is served as one, the woman is served in 2 bites, so it's a little bit more delicate to eat. Really quite a satisfying meal, and the price came out to be less than we were expecting.
So I feel like we just shared something special. What did you think of the food?
Oh my god. It was like melt in your mouth. It's like the best sushi I've ever had. Inside I was amazed. Now I sort of feel really sad and depressed, and I don't want to eat anything after because I just want that to stay in my stomach.
Oh. Look, I got to say, I've eaten at a lot of fancy sushi bars. A couple of the fish were like outstanding, much better than I've had anywhere else. The uni was really, really special. The anago was probably the best I've had anywhere, I think. Also the steamed abalone, just amazing. I'd say every single one we had was the best or second best I've ever had. But I've got to be 100% honest, I think the hype didn't help a little bit. Maybe I was expecting even more. And my favorite sushi bar in Tokyo, which is also a high-class one, is less than half the price, and I really think it's 95% as good. But, you know, as someone who uses Hasselblad cameras and Zeiss Otis lenses, that last couple of percent to get towards perfection always comes at a big premium. I hope you can get a table if you're into this kind of thing, but if you're not really into sushi, I would skip it because it's a fairly subtle difference between that and the next best one, and you may not notice it unless you really, really love your sushi. Thanks, guys. Glad you could join us. Bye.
If this is your first time watching a video here, I should introduce myself. I'm actually a photographer and photography teacher. Tina's my co-host on a lot of videos, but I travel the world a lot teaching and shooting all around the place, so I get to go to a lot of nice restaurants. If you're into photography, definitely go over and check out mattgranger.com. You can see what's going on and see all of my world travels there under the workshops page. Please click the like and subscribe and get out there and eat.